Hello and welcome to Rando Rob. Each week on Rando Rob, I'll be showing and discussing one item from my large collection of collections. New shows appear every Monday, and throughout the week, I'll be adding older episodes of Rando Rob that were previously only available to my Patreon subscribers. You can watch episodes of Rando Rob on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. Just look for the Rando Rob playlist. Audio versions of the show are available on my website at podcast.robohara.com or through iTunes. Just search for Rando Rob. Thanks for watching or listening, and I hope you enjoy this vintage episode of Rando Rob. So anyway, for this week's item, I've pulled something off the shelf that I literally stare at every day. It sits on a shelf that is right here, right above a foot above where my webcam is and where my monitor's in. And so it's literally something that I look at all day while I'm in here on the computer. And it all kind of ties back to something that I just found amusing many, many years ago. So as you know, I came up through home computers. I had, the TRS-80. I've said this like the same spiel a million times. I've had the TRS-80, then we went to the Apple, then I was a Commodore 64. But my dad, during all that same time, essentially, when I got my Commodore 64, even before that, he got a PC Junior, he had an XT, and then a 286. So we always had an IBM in the house as well. So I grew up with DOS. I mean, I was going to say a master at DOS. I don't know what that means, but I wrote some pretty extensive batch files, to do random things, and I still use DOS every day, like batch files for work and things like that to kick off scheduled events and reboot machines and all kinds of stuff. I write lots of batch files. But one thing, when you grew up with DOS, and I would guess before, I would say just before Windows 95, was that if you wanted to reboot a machine, you hit Ctrl Alt Delete. I mean, if you were in DOS and you hit Ctrl Alt Delete, it was like pressing the reset button right on the front of your computer. That thing would bounce the machine, And so if you were old school, like me, I guess, that's what I always thought of when I heard someone say, Control Delete, or you'd hear people say, I used to call it, or people used to call it the 3-finger salute. Give the old 3-finger salute, and you'd hit Control Delete and bounce a machine. And so anyway, when I first started working at the FAA, I worked on a help desk. I worked upstairs. I work in a 3-story building, and I started on the first floor, and then they moved us to the 3rd floor. But where I wanted to be was in the basement, because the basement was the server room, and the server room was like where all the cool people worked. And, the help desk work seemed exciting in the early days, but you get burned out on it pretty quick. I mean, I started in the mid-90s, and the server room seemed like where the important stuff was happening, and that's what I wanted to learn and stuff. And when I started out there, we had Novell servers, so we didn't have a wide area network. We just had servers there, but over time we built, set up a wide area network and connected all of our offices across the country. And to do that, all of these servers were running Windows NT. We started with NT 3.5.1 and then went to NT 4. And so I remember one day going downstairs, and when you went downstairs, there was a door you had to knock, and then somebody had to come let you in or buzz you in or whatever. It was, a secure area. And I went downstairs, and I saw on a couple of the screens this thing that was flashing, and it said press Control Alt Delete to log in. And I just started laughing, and one of the guys said, why is that so funny? And I was like, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a trick, and if you hit Control Alt Delete, it would reboot the computer. So I was like, oh, I would, yeah, you wouldn't want to hit Control Delete. And he was like, no, that's Windows NT. That's how you log in. And I was like, really? I didn't know that. I think we still had, Windows 3.1 upstairs at that time. And so anyway, it was that was the first time I ever heard of hitting Control Delete to log in, and I felt really stupid at the time, but I didn't know. It was just a new thing to me, And so anyway, fast forward many years, and I was looking online one time when I was setting up my computer room like 2 houses ago. This is a long time ago. I mean, this is probably, I don't know, more than 10 years, maybe 15 years. And I had this little area set up in the corner with a futon where my little gaming thing was, and I was looking for some pillows. And I went online and I found these pillows that were white, and they said Control Alt and Delete on the 3 pillows, and I thought it was really funny. And I don't think it was on Etsy, but maybe it was on eBay or something. But whatever it was not mass produced. It was like someone had made them. And I remember asking for them for a birthday or Christmas or something like that. And whoever I asked, they just said, oh, I didn't think you really wanted those. And they got me something else. So when I went back to look, they were gone. Now I'm sure that you could find them. I'm sure somebody makes something like that. But I always like that idea that you would just have Control Delete, kind of because it reminds me of this story. And then, I don't know, it's just kind of a computer guy thing, to have. But anyway, a few years later, I believe it was on Etsy, I found these wooden blocks. So I tapped them to prove that they're wooden. But this one says Control. This one says Alt. And I bet you can guess what the third one says. That's right. It says Delete. And they are, I believe these are wooden. Yeah, they definitely, you can tell that they're wooden. They are very smooth. They obviously have a beveled edge that somebody has machined or dremeled or something on there. You can't even feel like where the lettering is. It's all smooth on there. So I'm not sure how they did that. If they printed like the whole top of this, I don't know. You would think if you ran your finger across, you could feel a height difference, but you really can't. But they are hollow. And then on the back, they have these little holes where you could put them, and put some screws and nails in the wall or something and hang them up. So if you wanted to hang your Control Alt Delete, but I've never done that. I've never hung them on the wall. I just have them setting on the shelf. In fact, right above me, there's the shelf, and then there's my VCR, which is connected to my computer for dubbing in tapes and things like that. And these sit on top of the VCR, so literally they're higher than eye level, but there they sit as I try to pick them all up. So you can see them there. That's not how they sit. They sit in order, so they sit with Control and Alt and Delete. It's funny that the way my room is set up right now, a lot of the things that I enjoy the most, I have put to where I can see them. So I have a lot of things on the shelf up here. There are 4 shelves that have a lot of things on them that you can't see, but I see every time I come into the room. Now, I have been debating for a long time on what I'm going to do. I have a bunch of toys, and I have a bunch of Star Wars stuff that I have not. It's been in storage since I moved to this house, and I've been in this house in October. This will be our 3rd year in this house, so it's time to do something with that stuff. And what I've decided to do, what I was going to do for a long time, is put some display shelves out in my movie room. But the thing is that I don't go to the movie room that often. I mean, I go out there, but not, every day. And when I do go out there, it's to watch a movie, which means the lights are turned off or at least really dim. So it's not like I would be going out there to see those things, And I guess when people come over, they would see those things. But I don't know. It's more like I feel like if I'm putting them out there, I'm hiding them. I'm not hiding them, but I'm just shoving them off into a place where I don't have to deal with them, And so what I have decided to do is on the wall behind me, if you're familiar with Billy bookshelves, those are the shelves from IKEA. I have 3 sets of them over on this wall. And I can put 4, if I move those tables, get rid of those tables back there and those shelves on the wall, I can put 4 sets of Billy bookshelves that will be, I guess they're, with the addition, they're about 8 foot tall. And they're less than 3 foot wide. They're like 32 inches wide. But I could put 4 of them on there. And you can actually buy additional shelves, which has always been one of my problems when I'm putting up displays, because a lot of the things I put are little things, little guys and little action figures, if I'm putting up little space Lego people, I don't want to put it on a shelf that's, a foot apart from the next shelf, because then you have 11.5 inches or 11 inches that are just wasted space, so... but I can buy additional shelves for those Billy bookshelves. And actually, I could make additional shelves because they're just white pieces of wood. And it turns out when you're doing woodworking and stuff, shades of white are, depending on your lighting and what you're doing, but shades of white are pretty forgivable. You can come close with a shade of white and use it on a shelf, and most people will not notice the difference in the shades of white. So when I do that, and I'm probably going to, the problem is the nearest IKEA to me is 3.5 hours away. And I know you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just buy those shelves locally? Or I can't find anything like those locally. I can't find anything like IKEA furniture, which is kind of solid. And I mean, I know IKEA has this reputation for being kind of cheap or whatever, but their stuff has held up for me, And the only thing I could find here is like those solder bookcases and stuff where if you put any weight on them, they sag, and I don't want to do that. And they don't have them in the right sizes and stuff. So I may plan a road trip next week at some point to go to IKEA in Texas and pick up some of these bookshelves, 4 sets of the bookshelves, and come back and spatially, I'm terrible at assembling things like that, but my wife is a whiz at it. So that's what we did with the other bookshelves. Was I brought them in, I unboxed them, and she assembled them, and then we stood them up. And you got to attach them to the wall. When I don't even. I think this is the first house where I even did that. I was not a believer in that, but these shelves are so tall, and the weight just seems like the more stuff you put on it, they're going to start leaning forward and stuff. So you got to attach them. Use a little bracket and attach them to the wall. You don't want that stuff falling over. But so that'll be the plan. So within the month, I would say you're going to see a different look behind me. I've got a spot for one of those tables. I don't know where the other table is going to go. So I'll see some rearranging back there. And the big things that are back there, the disk drives and the Commodore computers, they may go on top of the shelves somewhere. I like having the Commodore stuff on display, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm pretty excited about it. And then of course the computers and the monitors will end up moving. I've got tables that run all the way down this wall as well, and so they'll just kind of shift over to this wall. And I've mentioned this before that I've got a lot of duplicity. I have like my Mister right here, which I can play Commodore stuff on. And then I have my Ultimate 64 I can play Commodore stuff on. And then I have my real 64 sitting back there hooked up. And it's right next to a BMC 64 running on a Raspberry Pi. And I have an SX64. So, you know what I mean? So I don't need all that stuff out all the time. It's fun to look at. It's fun to play with. But, I could probably get down to just a couple maybe of Commodore computers that are hooked up live, ready to go. So, I'll have to take a few things down and make a few concessions, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. And I'll have all this stuff. You'll see over time, you'll see those shelves start to fill up with all kinds of toys and collectibles and fun stuff. And every one of those items, there's a possibility that it could end up on an episode of Rando Rob. So if you need to lock your machine, hit Ctrl Delete. It will not reboot it, but I'm going to hit Ctrl Alt Delete right now and see what happens.